Welcome everybody to the Dave Knows Wrestling Dave Knows Comics live stream. Whoops, slipped into default mode on that one. Sorry. Dave Knows Comics live stream. I swear I know what show this is. And today we're going to be talking about the Crisis on Infinite Earth finale and the big news as we all saw from there. Now, I know normally I like to avoid spoilers, and by the way, spoiler warning in case you haven't figured that out. But the reason why, hey, Bally, how you doing? But the reason why I decided to come out and just talk about this right off the bat is because, in case you haven't noticed, I've seen this spoiled a lot on the internet already. So I figure I'm not the first one to do it. So you probably already know this happened. So I figured to throw this out there. True Sinister, what's going on? Vinny Montano, what's up? Degenerate, how's it going? All right, all the guys are coming in. Yeah, so what is up? We see the big finale when we thought that Crisis on Infinite Earths had the biggest cameos done. It turns out they had one more trick up their sleeve. There was one more thing they were bringing to the well. Let's see. True Sinisters, let's start reading. True Sinister says, I saw the Crisis. It was epic and great and a bit nonsensical. I think all those things are accurate, yes. What up, Kendall Taylor, a.k.a. Taylor Made? Arthur Pryor says, comic books. And then he says, books. Vinny Montana, yeah, Ezra Miller. As you can see from the thumbnail, Ezra Miller from the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, or the District Comics Extended Universe. A lot of people kind of don't know that. Anyway, DC Comics Extended Universe, we see Ezra Miller, who played the Flash, made a cameo, a substantial cameo in the big comeback episode after the break. They took the first 3 episodes aired, they took a break, and then they put the 2-part finale at the end, and it just came out. And yeah, this has been creating quite a buzz, and I'm really pleasantly surprised by this because we've gotten a lot of information here. And first of all, kudos to them for keeping this a surprise because it was a huge surprise for me. I did not see that coming. Okay, Bally says, without spoilers, this crossover succeeded where Superman Returns failed. That is true. Make Brandon Roth a great Superman. I don't know if I would say he was a great Superman, but I will also say I don't think he was a bad Superman to begin with. I think Superman Returns the movie was bad, but I don't put a lot of the onus on him. I never did. I don't think this made him like over the top great or anything like that. I think this is exactly the same kind of delivery we always got from him. This is what he does as Superman. You know, this is how he rolls. I don't think this was any bigger or less than what he's done previously. Ben Espinosa says, "Hey Dave, what's up? Did I miss anything? Nope." Right on time. All right, True Sinister says they really got Lex over as far as I'm concerned. They did push him, I will say that. But again, Ducky. And why is his head bald, but he's got a beard? He's Ducky. Okay, so lots of things to unpack. And so where Vinny Montana says, so Titans, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing, and Stargirl and Green Lantern are all canon. That's right. So this is a huge event that they were planning. Really big, but we had no idea what the scope was, and I think they did a great job of keeping it in. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see everybody interact as much as I would like, but they still got a lot of it. And as we saw from the finale, Titans, Doom Patrol, these outside DC projects on the DC network, it turns out they are all connected to the Arrowverse. There is a multiverse, and the Arrowverse is definitely a part of it. And I think that is really cool because DC, for a while now, I think has been struggling. Sure, they had their massive hits like Shazam and Joker. And yes, of course, they've had the DC animated universe very popular, still very popular to me, still a big part of my life. I love that show, those shows. I always will love those shows. But as of late, their movies have been struggling. And when it comes to TV, well, they're doing a lot. Their fans are loyal to them. Their fans are very excited about what they have to offer. We can't, TV's not really putting up the same numbers as it used to, or at least their numbers are not the same thing as it doesn't bring in the same money that the MCU is going to bring in. And I feel that TV has been struggling a lot. But there's no doubt about it. DC in recent years have been the company that's been doing the best on television, I would say. Or having the most successes, it seems, with television. Between all of their different shows, their cartoons, their animated universe, they've been doing a much better job on that than Marvel had been previously. Yeah, the Netflix shows were really good, mostly. But for the most part, DC seemed to be really focusing on their game. So they decided to finally utilize their asset that seems to be doing the best for live action and use that to connect to other things. So connecting that with Titans, connecting that with Doom Patrol, and connecting that with the DCEU, a project that some people would say has failed and has just been quietly rebooted or debooted is pretty interesting. And Ezra Miller, I will be the first one to say that I was not super stoked when I found out Ezra Miller was going to be playing Flash. He's one of those kind of guys I was like, oh, him again? I was like, man, why is he in everything? But then when I saw Justice League, I really liked his. I really liked him in it. I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was funny. I thought he was charming. I liked that. I liked what he brought to the table, and so I was very glad to see that. And the cameo was very funny. It's also interesting that Flash didn't have Ezra Miller. Flash didn't know his name was Flash yet. So like you could almost say that this Barry Arrowverse Barry gave that Barry the name, so you never know. That might have been his origin, how he came up with it. I was also kind of expecting, or at least hoping for, that Batman Superman scene where Flash jumps in while Batman's sleeping. I was almost hoping that they could have tied that in somehow, but maybe paying for Ben Affleck would have been too much. Maybe whatever, but I thought that would have been cool if they could get that. They could have gotten that in there too. But yeah, I think it's really big that even though you had a property or you have a franchise that I'm really not super stoked about the DCEU as a whole, you found a way to get me to mark out a bit having it in this big crossover event. So good for them. Yes, and of course let's talk about of course. True Sinister says, I wonder if it weren't for obvious reasons. We would get Kevin Spacey as Lex and Allison Mack as Chloe Sullivan. Well, the Allison Mack thing, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And Chloe Sullivan, yeah, and Kevin Spacey. Now, Kevin Spacey, I didn't like the way the role was written for him, but I do think that Kevin Spacey could be a good Lex Luthor. I understand that currently he's in some hot water right now, so that's not going to happen. But I thought, as an actor, I thought that was, I was really looking forward to what could have been. Unfortunately, I just don't think the part was written well. The Hall of Justice was awesome, yeah, and the series this Crisis on Infinite Earths resolves with the Hall of Justice, and we get a Hall of Justice now with Makeshift Justice League, and I believe her name is Katie Lotz. I have to say, I think she is very, very attractive. I not being a big Arrowverse guy, watching this, I was like, wow, that girl is really good looking. I just thought I'd throw that out there. They've been struggling forever, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Tyler? I can't say that name. In Elizabeth Lois and Clark show, will it be about two sons and a super sons? Yeah, possibly. Oh, the Superman and Lois Lane. You say Lois Clark, I think of Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. Anyway, yes. So, yeah, I do think there's a shot, especially since the character of Jonathan Kent, little baby Jonathan Kent, has been growing in popularity, and they are doing something with him. So the idea of Superman having a son, being married, is something that the comics have kind of undone. But I do think seeing Superman as a father and a husband is something I think we want to see. And I think it also makes more sense, and it's who he is. Like, nobody's looking to see Superman date. The woes of dating. Like, I don't agree with it, but if you want to make the argument that Peter Parker should be single because a big part of the drama of Peter Parker's life is all the different love interests he has. Okay, I get it. I don't agree. I think you can progress the character forward, but if you want to say that, fine, I get it. But Superman, don't nobody want to see Superman on the prowl. Yeah, TV been struggling everywhere. The highest rating program dropped in UK, around 6 million viewers. That's low compared to where it's ever years ago. Yep. Okay, True Sinister also says something about the pacing and maybe the budget makes certain events feel rushed, cheap, and anticlimactic. Yeah, no beef with that, True Sinister. It's television, so the CG and the CG and the budget and everything like that is not going to be up to snuff with the big Hollywood blockbusters. Of course not. But I go into that expecting it that way. There is the old school thought that maybe you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew, but at the same hand, technology, CGI, and things are getting cheaper, and it's getting better. If we look at the graphics that we saw during Crisis of Infinite Earth, then we looked at the way the show looked, special effects and all, and we compare that to, let's say, Smallville Season 1, I think it looks infinitely better. It's just how time goes. Like when you look at the current Toy Story movie and go back to look at the first Toy Story movie, it looks mind-blowingly better, and that's just how it is. Or The Incredibles, the first or second one. As it progresses, it didn't bother me personally, but I get your point. I do hear what you're saying. And I think also for comic books and live action, there is the problem of forget about budget, forget about CGI. Let's just talk about the look and the aesthetic. Do we go for comic accuracy, and is that going to look silly on screen? There's some things that just they want to be accurate about, but then it kind of looks goofy. Like the Flash himself, I will admit, is a tough call. And so far, I haven't seen anything egregious, but as a whole, Bruce Timm has said it when they were drawing him, even animated. They were saying, how do you avoid making the Flash just look like a big red tomato? It's just like really, like, and most of the time they just subdue the red, they make it a little more muted. But if you're doing that, that's not necessarily comic book accurate. So it's a hard call. Like, how do you deliver that thing? Yeah, Oliver Queen. I guess they're wrapping up the Arrowverse, but it seems like they're going, or at least the show Arrow. It's on its last season, and Oliver Queen. I feel like we haven't seen the last of Stephen Amell in that role to some capacity. Something will happen with him, and also have to say, while we're on it, Kat McNamara, also very pretty as well. I was as you guys know my taste. Anyway, Ron Hawthorne says DC films need to branch out more from Batman and Superman. I think that's true about DC Comics as a whole. I think they're very dependent on Superman and Batman, and you only get any credit if you're associated with Superman and Batman. It's like Green Lantern, Flash. It's because they're on Justice League. They're always revolving around Superman and Batman. I think that's just true for DC Comics overall. Start representing your other characters and why they're great on their own without needing Superman and Batman. They have incredible rich universe that's barely gotten acknowledged on screen. Yep, I completely agree, Ron Hawthorne. I almost called you Ron Howard. Ron Hawthorne. I'm off today. True Sinister, this felt a little inspired by Endgame. I hear you, although, the comic book wise, they did it first, so, I think I'll give them that. Your skewed taste in women, who knows? Skewed taste? First of all, if it's your personal taste, of course it has your own personal skew on it. That's kind of how opinions work, dummy. Anyway, True Sinister, from Reverse Flash to Legends of Tomorrow, the timeline is so messed up that it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. Like, I'm going to state that I'm not an Arrowverse guy. I really haven't watched much of it. I watched a couple episodes of Flash, a couple episodes of Arrow. For the most part, I think I watched half an episode of The Legend of Tomorrow when I was I think it was at a restaurant, and it was just on TV, and I was just, like, casually watching it. But that's really all I've gotten, all I've seen. I think I might have checked. No, I didn't. I don't know. I might have seen bits and pieces of all the stuff there, but for the most part, I didn't know. So, but yeah, does it have the typical C-dub, like, cheesy factor to it? Yeah, of course it does. But it's okay. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Oh yeah, and of course the girl who plays Supergirl, she's super cute too. Anyway, so I haven't been watching too much of it, but I never felt lost. Now, I talked about this the last time on the last episode when we brought up Crisis on Infinite Earth crossovers, so I won't get too much into that. But I do want to say for these final two episodes, the good and the bad. Now, I talked about a lot of the good one I'm excited for. Let me catch up in the comics, and then we'll catch up in the comments, and then I'll go into my thoughts on the end. Miss Green, I really don't think Green Arrow, I don't think Stephen Amell's done. I think we will see him again. I want an animated Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah, well, I mean, we got Crisis on Two Earths. I did really want the DC animated universe to do Crisis on Infinite Earths the way Bruce Timm and all them wanted it to be done. That would have been nice. Harry Flynn says Oliver Queen proved he could make the sacrifice play. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do see the parallels in Endgame. I'm not saying that they're not there. Vinny Montaigne says, but I also think they've been going over and working on it before Endgame came out, so I don't think they might not have been able to rip off as much of Endgame as possible. This was very much more comic booky. I think this was more comic booky than Endgame was, or like more campy comic booky than Endgame was. All right, Vinny Montaigne says, I think the next big crossover we should either see Darkest Night or something to do with Justice League of America. Yep, that's both fair and both probable. Arthur Price says, okay, terrible taste. You feel better? Yes, you do have terrible taste, and I'm glad you admit it, Arthur. It's good to know. Vinny Montaigne. Melissa Benoist? I don't know. That's Supergirl. Yes. I don't know how to say her last name, but yeah. Really cute. Okay, so, hey, Inigo Montoya. Hey, yo. Okay, so, so here are my thoughts. Now, when we saw first of all, I think it's interesting they had the two-part finale on the same night. But either way, when we saw the finale, and by the way, I also have to say, shout out my apologies to Muhammad, because I know he wanted to be here, wanted me to come on early so he could talk about this. The way my job is situated today, this was the earliest I could come on. Believe me, I wanted to, but when you're watching this later on, I apologize. I wanted to throw that out. Sorry, man. I really, really wish I could have come on for you earlier, but sorry. Anyway, so I thought the last part was unfortunately a bit tacked on. The fifth episode, I really didn't need. It didn't even feel like it was part of it. We got the big giant monster fight where they beat up a giant Anti-Monitor. We saw that big stupid Furby thing, which I assume is from a different episode or something, but I thought it was stupid. And in terms of the bad CGI and the bad effects and the campiness, that was horrendous to me. Like that was one of the things that really got me and took me out of it. Like I know it's supposed to be funny and tongue in cheek, and if you have been watching it and are a fan of it, I'm sure it means something to you. But either way, for me, it was just something that didn't work. As an outside fan, just watching this event, I didn't get it, and I just thought it looked terrible. The giant anti-monitor, I didn't think looked good either. And the Justice League setup was cool, but I don't think we needed, like, if that was a finale, sure. But now we got a new Lex Luthor who's supposed to be, like, good and loved by everybody. I get to a degree that it was setting up the new status quo and showing you what the life is going to be like. And it was really cool that we got to find out they were all on the same Earth now. There is just one Earth now for them, as far as they're concerned. Fine. So it wrapped up a lot of loose ends. But that's something you can do in a quick epilogue. It'll take you 2-3 minutes. I don't think you needed an entire episode to reestablish things. And I feel they knew that too, which is why they padded it with an extra fight with the Anti-Monitor. You could even make the argument, though, that it was necessary for closure purposes, that you needed them. Well, Ollie made the sacrifice play. You needed them to get their hands dirty with the Anti-Monitor. I guess you could make that call. I don't feel that's true, but you could make that call. And I would understand your point. So the big giant Anti-Monitor fight, I didn't think it was needed. And I also was weirded out by how much of a threat they made, the Shadow Monsters seemed, considering that before Ollie made his sacrifice play, I feel I saw Ryan Choi just punching and kicking them and they vanished. I was like, these guys don't seem that threatening to me. It seems like just any physical contact makes them. But then when we had the giant Anti-Monitor fight, like Ryan Choi's like running and hiding with his baby. It's like, no! It's like, dude, you like took down a whole mess of these by just like whiffing at them. So I don't really see a problem. Muhammad is here. Hey, peace to you, Muhammad. Okay, good. You are here. Good. Didn't want to. No need to apologize. Okay, good. All right. So yeah, sorry. I know you wanted me to come on earlier, but this is as early as I possibly come on, so I'm glad that you were here. Okay, good. All right. I think, but to send off Brandon Rose Superman was done pretty well. Yeah. No. Yes, I agree with that. Okay. Black Lightning never meeting Oliver and not really knowing any of them. Yeah, that was kind of surprising. I didn't realize that myself. It's from Legends Tomorrow. That whole show has that tone, Dave. Yeah, and as yes. From what I saw, the half episode I saw when I was out, like I feel like I was at a restaurant and it just happened to be on TV. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, I remember watching half of it and going, "What is this?" And I'm like, too cheesy. I'm not gonna watch it. So, all right, that's where it comes from. Okay, so it says that monkey at the end is. Dave, your thoughts on Oliver as Spectre? I thought that really cool. Like, Spectre's a character that I think is underutilized. Do I want to be Oliver? No. But I'm a big Green Arrow, like, the character fan. So, like, I want him back as Oliver. And especially with the idea that his daughter, it seems like Mia is his daughter. I think there is, yeah, it's tragic, but I think there is room to play there that they should at least reestablish that from time to time in the remaining Arrowverse shows. True Sinister says, I don't like how the Anti-Monitor and didn't really show it. Yes, I think, depending on what that blank is. Disappointed by the Arrow finale. I didn't see the Arrow finale, unless you're talking about the finale of Infinite Crisis. Those Phantoms seem like Power Ranger. Yes, vaporized putties. Cut and paste Avengers Endgame. Yeah, I mean. No, they had a giant thing. Yeah, so the last episode I really didn't like. The episode before that was fine. I think the biggest takeaway was the Ezra Miller thing. They shrunk him. But it was off screen. Maybe. I've been here for like 10 minutes. In case you haven't noticed, Arthur, I was talking. I wasn't reading. Hear about Stargirl? I did hear about Stargirl, so yeah, I'm interested in seeing. They set that up, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we're gonna be seeing that. Vinny Montaigne says, Arthur, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this chat. Doesn't he always? They missed the chance at making a joke about Brandon Routh Superman and Brandon Routh Adam being in the same room. They made a couple of references to it. They did previously. Like he did say, "Oh, in one multiverse, I'm Superman. I'm Supes." And then, like in the earlier 3 episodes, he also made a reference to it. They acknowledged it. Yeah. So ultimately, I felt the last episode was really tacked on. I didn't need it. as a reset. And I almost thought that the reset would have been good as part of the regular shows to see how things go. Because one of my holdups or issues that I have is when you have a major event that crosses over, especially multiple episodes, and then we go back into the regular series, they tend to act like it never happened. That kind of gets on my nerves. Like I want to see a reset. And I know it's hard. It's really hard to do because you don't want to alienate people who weren't necessarily watching it, but at the same time, you can't just negate this thing like and act like it never happened. Nico Montoya's. Oh wait, two flashes. Must have missed it. Okay. Yeah, they did go over those jokes quick. I think how they did this. I was watching an interview with Stephen Amell, and they knew they were going to kill all over the whole time. This was Stephen Amell's choice. Yeah, but remember, you gotta keep it kayfabe. You gotta protect yourself. So there's a chance that he's just protecting his own there. I'm sure he wanted it and go out with a bang, and it's cool like that. But again, this is combo, and where some people are already suspecting that RDJ is going to be coming back to the Avengers, or we're going to get a cameo of him at least. But you know, they come back. Same thing with Black Widow, and it's possible. I think in the MCU it kind of takes away from things, and I don't think you could get away with it as well. Like especially because I think the Netflix universe, when they started bringing back characters, I like Nobu and Elektra, I thought that was kind of when they started jumping the shark a little bit. Or at least in that aspect, they were kind of going downhill because it became like a little ridiculous. Because then it's like, okay, great, you know, you can get your head cut off, but that's the same thing as just getting cold. You might as well just take a Robitussin and you're fine. You know, so it's like I think it's a treacherous road to go down. But when it comes to the tone, as you were talking about for Legend of Tomorrow and all that, I think it's something we can really get out of it. And I know the MCU brought back Gamora, but still, where did she go at the end? You know, maybe she didn't really come back. Maybe you can't come back. Maybe you come back temporarily, but then you go back to your own timeline. Who knows? Who is that coming from, Vinny? Well, maybe you should take it under consideration. I think. Oh, okay. All right. So Black Lightning joins the Arrowverse. It was awesome. Yep, absolutely. Long overdue. Some wished for Green Lantern, and it happened. Kind of happened, but I do want Green Lantern as a property. Really, really need to get it. We're going on 9 years ago that movie came out. Let's really just get over it. I mean, Green Lantern that property failed, and it was a surprise. They had a good director. They had Ryan Reynolds. You know, they had a lot of ducks going for them, and it just didn't work out. I personally blame the script, but whatever. It's just one of those things. They rebooted Batman in less time. After Batman and Robin, Batman came back, and I get it, he's Batman. But come on, Spider-Man rebooting. Let's just bring Green Lantern back. It's a good character. Let's see what we can do with it. We don't have to treat Hal Jordan like he's the plague. Yeah, Morbius is also a trailer out there too. Looks okay. I'm not the biggest vampire guy, but you know, looks fine. I'm questioning how much I'm going to be supporting it since Sony's been doing dirty. I mean, they've been okay. You know, they've been righting their wrongs, but for the whole, I'm not trusting Sony's Spider-Verse. I want the rights to go back to Marvel. I think the whole thing with Barry and the Speed Force was really well done. That's fair. Earth 2 is Stargirl. Yeah, I also think it's weird how they broke down the numbers of the Earths. That was strange to me. Let's talk Morbius. Okay, what about Morbius? Inigo Montoya says, please, let's not talk about Morbius. Okay, whoa. Okay, well, Inigo Montoya, why don't you want to talk about Morbius? And Muhammad, why do you want to talk about Morbius? True Sinister says, I feel Arrowverse and MCU are a problem. I don't know about that. Maybe, but I'm not sure. Remains to be seen. Okay, is it in the MCU? It's a good question. It's a very good question. Maybe is, maybe not. Whole point is we don't know. If anyone says, I think, but I do want to hear Inigo Montoya. Why do you not want to talk about Morbius? I think that Smallville overall pioneered the Arrowverse. Oh, it absolutely did. I do wish that we... See, I was also expecting we were going to get to see Kevin Conroy or Tom Welling again, or at least Michael Rosenbaum, and that just never happened. But I thought we were going to get it for sure at some point. I did have a feeling we were going to get another cameo, or they were not done exploring the gratuitous cameos, but I did not think Ezra Miller was going to be one of them. Hang tight, guys. Sorry about that. It's going to be another combo character written by Jared Leto. Well, that's a fair point. But Keaton isn't. Okay, so fine. Okay, well, regardless of that, because I'm not I think he's more suited for the Morbius than Joker. Here's the thing: I'm not a big Morbius the character fan, and so I could care less. I'm not a vampire dude. Like it's like I like Blade too, but then yeah. But anyway, if you saw the trailer, Michael Keaton does have a cameo in it. So there are people wondering: does this mean that Morbius is part of the MCU? Is there a new deal with Sony about incorporating their Sony cast of Spider-Man characters into the MCU? But here's the thing: while Michael Keaton is in it, I'm pretty sure he is the Vulture. They never say he's the Vulture, so who knows? But I think there's a shot that the way Sony might be playing this is they just make it seem like it is part of the MCU, but meanwhile the MCU side of things will never acknowledge it, like they did with Netflix. Netflix shows kept acknowledging the greater MCU. MCU, on the other hand, never acknowledged the Netflix shows at all. So I think there's a chance it might be one of those scenarios where Sony's going to try real hard, but MCU, on the other hand, mum's the word. You know, the Sony side might have Tom Welling, Vulture, might have all those guys from Spider-Man films, talk about them, reference them, have them in the thing, but they're never going to have like Chris Pratt or Chris Helmsworth or Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. or whoever or Black Widow. They're never going to have them, and the MCU will never talk about them. I kind of think that's. Yeah. Leto is due for a redemption role. I don't think he's a bad actor, but I do think that. I don't think that Morbius. Maybe it will. I shouldn't say that. My initial gut reaction is to say that I don't think Morbius is the thing that's going to redeem him, but it might. As I said, I think it's more tailored. I think it's more up his alley than Joker is, I'm not too sure what's going to happen with Morbius. I'm not sure how this movie's going to fare because I'm curious also about a Venom sequel. While the Venom did very well, I saw it. I would never see a sequel. I could care less. This movie looked. I hated it. I flat out hated it. And I wonder how many people saw it out of curiosity, but in the end are going to hated it, and have no interest in revisiting it ever again. So I wonder if I'm alone on that one, or if there's a lot of people. So like, can we see a movie that was really successful, but then the sequel will flat out? Have people lost faith in Sony? I know I have. I don't know if other people feel the same way. Arrow versus and Smallville version of Green Arrow, I feel, are only way that they are. Yeah, in a lot of ways, Arrow gets utilized as a bat figure. Yeah, Batman substitute. True. Venom was fun, so there's hope. I hated Venom with a passion. It was just looks like it's going to be worse than Venom, and Venom was bad. Yeah, that's kind of. I don't think it looks like it's going to be worse than Venom, but I do think it's going to be on par. I think it's going to be in that area. By the way, Dave, we forgot the other week that Lawrence Fishburne had major roles in. Yep, he did Perry White as well as Surfer. I don't know if they count as major roles, but yeah, he had roles. Oh, and Ben and also and he was also on Ant-Man and the Wasp. All right, guys. So thank you for the thumbs up. But yes, I'm glad that we had time to talk about this Crisis on Infinite Earths finale. But if you're not joining me live, leave your thoughts in the comments section about how you felt about this. Bill Foster, yes, thank you. I think Grant Gustin will have a cameo in Flashpoint film. Possible. All right, so let me know if you haven't been watching this live, what you thought about the whole thing down in the comments. We'll be doing a wrestling live stream later on today, so just be on the lookout. Make sure your notifications are working for that. Had a good time talking about this. Let me go attend to some other things, but thank you for being here, and thank you for the likes. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you, and please subscribe right here to Dave Knows Comics. And as always, Dave knows.